right, well, welcome so much to How Women Orgasm. Lauren, we're super happy to have you here, obviously.
I'm happy to be here. I am originally from New Jersey, true Jersey girl. I started in the adult industry 10 years ago, so 2013. I started out in Florida as amateur pro, and then I was a cam model. And after 2.5 years, I moved to LA, and I think that was 2015. And I started with mainstream porn, and I've been doing it ever since. Actually, I went to college in New Jersey. I was a dance major, so I was technically I was trained in modern, but throughout my whole life, I was trained for 15 years in ballet, tap, jazz, modern, and Irish step. And I wanted to be a professional dancer. And currently, at that time, I wanted to be a rockette as well. And I got my degree. I was a professional dancer for I was a backup dancer for a Tina Turner impersonator for about 5 years. On top of working with 2 modern companies, I was also a dance teacher for a studio. I was nationally certified. I also worked at a preschool at one point. I was a massage therapist at one point. I was a nanny for a couple of years for 4 kids. And what got me into doing adults was I was working multiple jobs trying to survive my arts. And I was talking to one of my dancer friends who actually was a student of mine. And as we went into life, and she was closer to my age, she actually was a backup dancer with me. We got the job together. And I was like, I'm losing the love of my art. I don't know if I can do this anymore. I didn't want to hate it. And she was like, Lauren, you'd be great as a porn star. And I was like, she knew me so well. I was very open sexually when it came to how I lived. People will come up to me and want to talk about sex. I actually sold sex toys at one point. And I thought that sex should be a more natural thing, and we should be able to be open about it and talk about it, and it should be fine. And so I used the internet to figure out, where do I start? And one of the questions was, can I have sex in front of people? Because I had never had sex in front of people. So as my research went, I found out about the swinging community, and I was like, oh, what is this? And there was a swinging club in Atlantic City called Role Play Lounge, and I was like, this is where I'm going to find out if I can do it. So I drove to Atlantic City and by myself and went there. And they showed me the ropes. They said how everything went. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. All the different terms. I was considered a unicorn because I was a single female. And I was like, all right, let's just see how it goes. And they were very big with consent. So she said, if I said no to anybody and no one respected my boundaries, I was supposed to come to them right away. They were very strict about it. And I ended up having sex with 3 couples that night. Now, just to let you know, when it comes to swinging, it's not just like you have sex and that's it. It's actually usually a crowd watching. Like a big crowd is watching because a lot of them are voyagers. And so I was like, I can do this. So on New Year's Day, exactly, I packed up my car and drove to the 16 hours of Florida by myself. And then I'm here. I'm pretty open about this, and I think it's good to be open. As a child, I had certain trauma in my life, which took away my voice. And I didn't know how to vocalize myself. And I was trying to figure out a way to do that. And dance was a way for me to vocalize myself through movement. And if you actually really think about the history of the language itself, movement and using our bodies is actually the first language of how we used to communicate. So for me, it helped release any, I guess, unsolved issues that I had. And it helped me be able to express things that I, at that time, didn't know how to express because I was still developing and still trying to find who I am. And I chose modern because I don't like to conform to society very well. And I've been like that since I was born, basically. Modern was invented for people that were basically rebelling against ballerinas, because ballet is very classical, very uplifting, it's very structured, and they didn't want that. So they took away the shoes, everything's more inverted and contraction and using the movement, grounded. And I loved it because you could take very simple movement like walking, stuff that we forget about every day, that we do all the time, and you can make it into art. So that was kind of how I got into it. And like my Bob Fosse is a huge, where he tried ballet, but he's completely pigeon-toed, that went into this industry of dance and basically created his own type of style. And even like Margot Fontaine actually was not a traditional ballerina. She didn't have the extension. She was actually a little on the shorter side, and she showed how you can manipulate the art to what your body is and not just form to something. Yes, I remember the first time that I masturbated and how I was kind of hooked. I definitely was on the, let's just say, younger side. And I had a nice tube television with cable. And you remember those channels that had like the white noise? I was flipping through channels and the white noise popped up, and then all of a sudden the Spice Channel popped up. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? And you would see an image for like momentarily, and then it would go back to snow, and then we would see an image and go back to snow. And I was like, wow, they look like they're having a lot of fun. It looks really good. And I kind of that's kind of how I was introduced with masturbation was, oh, what is that? And I kind of just from there went there. And I don't know any of the stars that were in it at that time, because remember, it was a very blurry picture because it was just like you could see certain things. I was like, oh my God. And I had to go, wait. But that was probably one of my first experiences with masturbation and being like, oh, that looks interesting. I feel like I got myself to the moment because when I first started masturbating, it was all focused on my clit. So all I knew was clit stimulation. I don't think I actually got into penetrating myself until like after I started having sex with somebody. But all I knew was that my hand worked really well, and I was in it to win it. And I would get myself, I think I masturbated in bed. I used to masturbate in the shower, and like anytime like today, if my toys die, I know I have my hands. It takes a little bit longer, but it's there. So yeah, I feel like I orgasmed right away. Like it was something I felt, I loved it. And I know I felt really good. And to this day, I feel that same sensation. So like, yeah, I feel like I was in it to win it. Anything that feel good, I was like, yes. I think people forget that women are very sensual, and it takes us a while to get to an orgasm. And I think a lot of people forget as well that most women don't know how to orgasm or can orgasm. And that's like, you know, we're just good at pretending. So I feel like people think that girls can orgasm just like men, but it's very, very different, and it needs to be considered different and how to approach everyone differently. I'm a freak. It's definitely like expanded. Like I wasn't vanilla, like what we call like BDSM and kink and S&M. I was already doing, but there was no label. It was just what I liked. I always liked rough sex. I always liked to be choked. I always liked to be bound. Like I remember when I was moving to a new apartment and I forgot I left my restraints underneath my mattress and my folks found it. And I was like, whoops. And but I've always I remember the first time I tried anal. I've always been into like different things, and it's now just expanded on the sensations that I like. My body changes every day, every month, and I go through different obsessions of what I like. I went with an obsession at one point where I wouldn't have sex at all unless there was a camera, because the thrill of it was super awesome. Like I loved being that inner core of mine, and so it's just, I go through different stuff.
What's the current obsession? I'm curious.
The G-spot. I want to be able to find every girl's G-spot. Like, I want to be able to be like, I got you, boo, and go in for the kill. I actually know where mine is, and I'll actually adjust the hand because I know exactly. But if it's too rough, I won't get there. It has to be like just enough, because if it's too rough, it actually starts hurting. So I've actually, with some of the female talent I've been, I've asked them if they can guide me to their G-spot, because it feels different and it's always in a different area. I feel like it's like in an area, but not in the same area. And it's not a certain feeling like, oh, it's a spongy thing. I'm like, dude, I know what my vagina feels like. It's definitely something I'm still trying to accomplish. I masturbate at least once a day. Unless, like, even if I'm on set, depending if, like, I didn't get off that day, like, sometimes, like, depending on how everything's going, I might not get off. I try to as much as possible.
Do you have a set routine?
I just grab my toy. No, I do. I like my Hitachi. That's my favorites. I have 5 different ones, so that every time I pick a different traveling toy, I like a different bag, that toy's already in it. Like, it's just there. And then I have one at home that's in my dresser right there. But for me, I actually don't watch porn. I used to before I did porn, but I rarely did it then too. I actually, and this is, no one really knows this, so it's new. It's like, I read erotic literature when I take it off, because I like, and my stuff is extremely taboo. When I read certain things, it's, I like forced sex. I think that's hot. And I like stepdaddy and daddy stuff. And there's certain key words that get me off. So I love to be filled up. So anything of like coming in my pussy, anything of slut, like anything where it's like a used type, where I'm being used as like a toy and stuff like that. And anything that's like a little taboo. So like the phrase like, come for me, my slut. I like that. Come for daddy. I'm gonna come in your pussy. Like stuff like that. For some reason, being like that way is just hot for me. I love it.
Why do you think that is?
I'm most likely have daddy issues. But I think I like it because it was one of the things. I feel like we like certain things, depending on the person, obviously, to help deal with trauma that we probably have had in our past. So for me, like when with porn and BDSM and kinks and all the S&M, it helped me deal with my trauma therapeutically. So most likely, yes, I probably have daddy issues, but the way of being forced to kind of, I don't want to like make anyone feel uncomfortable. So, but let's just say forced sex. Stuff like that is probably at one point back in my past, I have had that experience, and it helps me gain that control. And I feel like that's the best way, is to be able, for me, when it came to my trauma, I didn't want to give them control of my life. I wanted to take my life. And I feel like taking that and doing it a way that makes me feel good takes away whatever they took away from me. It gives it back to me. So I think that's why I like it. But I don't know, it also feels really good for someone to, like, when a guy's about to come and they're like ramming you, and then you can feel their dick getting really hard, and and they do that one big pound and they bust, feels so amazing. So it's just a hand in hand of it. I don't the therapeutic side and then the feeling side. One step at a time. People don't want to learn about themselves because society has manipulated us that that's taboo, that's not right. And I think it's okay. I have a lot of couples that are fans of mine where the girl wants to try anal, and what I always tell them is, like, do it yourself first. Right? It's just like having sex. Like, I'm hoping, let's just say, I hope that a lot of girls experience their bodies and like get to experience how it is to get to, like, what is there in your pussy and what feels good before a guy would, because you should know your body more than the guy does, because the guy, I feel like, doesn't really know much. Especially, I shouldn't even say a guy, I don't want to genderize, the partner, because me going with another girl, I don't know her body. So it's nice to be able to know your body, so that you can communicate that for them to know your body. So it's just take time, like personal time. We all need, like, personal time. That should be like, make yourself feel good. Let out some, like, chemical release in the brain. Like, when I was younger, I remember squatting over a mirror, looking at my pussy, trying to be like, what is this? Like, what is there? And stuff like that. Like, it's all internal. So I have to like see what it is. I think it's okay to be curious and all different types of stuff. There is no, sky is the limit. And I think when it comes to your body and wanting to experience stuff, you should feel comfortable with yourself first, so that you can be comfortable with somebody else.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren, for being so comfortable with yourself and sharing all this great advice.
Awesome.
What we're going to do now is maybe show a little bit of what we talked about. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to have you hop on off the
All right, I'm going to try to. Ready?
There we go. All right, you can come on.